Good morning, everyone. I don't know about you, but that countdown kind of thing, it makes you a bit excited, but it also makes you a little bit nervous. So welcome everyone to this webinar. I'm thrilled that you're here, and so many of you have managed to show up live, despite the fact that we had a little bit of a hiccup by putting Thursday down, or rather Wednesday, when actually it was happening on Thursday, but the date was right. And as I said, I'm delighted so many of you are here. So the plan is I will deliver you as much rich content as I possibly can. There will be time for questions at the end so that I can work through the presentation, and anyone that needs to get away at the end can get away and get all of the content. But I will hang around, so please bear with me. If you want to ask questions, stick them in the chat box. I have a lovely person helping me who will flag them for me right at the end so that I can dive in and get them for you. Right, before we begin, a couple of bits of housekeeping. This platform is quite bandwidth heavy, so shut down any other windows you might have open, any other apps, and persuade anyone else who might be in your house to also do the same if you can. And we know how easy it is to be distracted, so put your phones on silent. Ideally, put them in another room. If you haven't already got a drink, go grab one really quickly and have a wee and settle down ready for this. I want your full attention, because with your full attention, you will get the most from it. And we have a chat room, and it's lovely to see you're all already in there, you know, chatting and saying good morning to everybody, and that's lovely to see. I will occasionally ask for simple responses, you know, just yeses or nos. But if I could ask you to stay focused on the presentation and kind of avoid the temptation to get caught up in chat. I know it's called chat, but you're here for the content I'm delivering. So bear with me while I get my slides up and we will kick off. I'm just going to turn off my video. Okay, yay, we have some slides. Right, who says you can't completely change how you feel about life, feel more aligned with who you are? Stop feeling angry, sad, anxious, guilty, unworthy, and do all of that when you're menopausal. Well, you do. You don't realise you do, but if you've any doubt at all that huge change is possible, oh no, there's my slides. Bear with me a second, we seem to have a technical hitch. Right, we're back. So what it means is you've created an internal rule set you don't even know you've got running. So it's pretty difficult to deal with something you don't know you've got running, right? But that's what you've been taught to believe without realising you've been taught to believe it. So what I'm going to teach you today is going to help you achieve more than you believe possible. And how do I know this? Because every person I ever work with, you know, they just want a tiny, could you just improve things slightly? And the things that become possible when you make the kind of improvements I'm going to share with you are way beyond your expectations. But that's fine. You know, you won't have to believe that yet. You don't have to believe that yet. All you need to hold on to is the possibility that things can be better, because they can. Because I'm going to take you step by step through how I rewrote the rules on menopause to finally start living life on my terms. Now, there's a lot of content I could give you here, but I don't want you, as someone eloquently put it, drinking through a fire hose of information and adding to your overwhelm. So I'm keeping this to 3 specific areas. And I'm going to try to dive as deep as I can into each of those. As I said, there's more questions at the end. But what I'm going to do is give you a window into my world, which will reveal to you how to achieve more balance, calm, remember that, and ease in your life starting today, right now, this very moment. And possibly more importantly, how to develop more resilience and be in control no matter what life throws at you. Because this is what's so important. It's not just about gaining control for the duration of this webinar or for 10 minutes a day. It's about being in control no matter what life throws at you. Because if COVID teaches us nothing at all, it's that we control virtually nothing. Because the thing is, once you finally move past this roller coaster of anxiety and depression and frustration and overwhelm, you really can remember who you are, what you want, and actually rediscover the strength to achieve it. Achieve what you want, even if you don't know what you want right now. It starts with remembering who you are, with reconnecting with who you are. And I know this from personal experience because I lost myself for a very long time. But before I get into that, let's just check that we're all in the right room. We've got all the right people here. This is for you. And I know because I've been receiving emails from lots of you, so this should be familiar territory. If any of these are resonating for you, how many of you want to just say yes as I go through this, as it becomes familiar to you. So you've been feeling panicky. You're in the right place if you've been feeling panicky, anxious, angry, or sad, way more than is normal for you. And you have no idea why. You're in the right place if you're not sleeping well. And it's not just about the hot flushes. You're just not sleeping well, full stop. And concentration is shot during the day. In fact, you possibly no longer trust your own decision making. You're in the right room if you feel you can't cope like you used to, and you're probably the kind of person who used to cope with everything. I know I was. You care deeply about responsibility to others, but also have so much more you want to achieve for yourself. And you're really good at what you do, but increasingly anxious and burdened by having to hold it all together for everyone else, like the world is on your shoulders. And this is for you if you're usually last on your own list, and this is usually a very common feature. Your thoughts are increasingly dominated by worst case futures and things that could have been different in the past. So you're so full of negative thoughts, it's almost like you've lost touch with the present. You're constantly thinking about the past and the future, and it's not in a good way. You're smiling and coping on the outside, but terrified and failing on the inside. You're in the right place. But for some of you, this is not the right place. This webinar is not for you if you have a tendency to blame people or circumstances when you feel low. It's understandable to put the blame outside of us onto COVID, redundancy, stuff that happens, but we have to step back in and go, I'm going to control what I can control. This isn't for you if you're secretly comfortable being a victim. And this sounds harsh, like who would be comfortable being a victim? And we might at first go, no, well, that couldn't possibly be me. But sometimes we don't realize. And I, for a long time, was secretly comfortable being a victim because actually it means you don't have to do anything. You can just milk whatever sympathy you get. You can hang out with other people and share how awful this all is. But that doesn't change anything. And so if you're comfortable with that and that's what you want to continue with, then you need to log off now. This is not the webinar for you. And if you give up easily, it's not for you either. All change, although this is probably the most effortless way you can make change, all change requires a commitment. So if you give up easily, you're in the wrong place. You want an overnight fix? Give me a tablet. Give me just something to listen to, 10 minutes. Okay, I can do that. That's not possible. change can be quick, but it isn't an overnight thing. You have to do something too. And here's a classic: you think you're too busy. So you showed up for the webinar, which is fantastic, and that shows commitment. But many people don't want to invest the time. It goes back to the quick fix thing. It's like, well, I don't have time to actually do anything different. Just do some magic stuff. I'm too busy for everything else. You're in the wrong place if that's the case. And if you think now is not a good time, this is a classic. So you might feel everything resonates. Oh my goodness, this is what I've been suffering with. Oh my goodness, there's hope. This is wonderful. But maybe I'll just lose this weight first, or maybe I'll just start this business first, or maybe I'll just do this other course first. If you think that's what you're going to do, this is not the webinar for you. But pause. I get, oh, hello, what? Isn't this fun? That was not an intentional pause. Maybe just because I said pause, the powers that be in the universe just decided that they would insert a deliberate pause. But, oh, for goodness sake. Oh, this is fun, isn't it? It doesn't want me to give you this, but honestly, I am going to give you this. Stay to the end and you will be able to get your confidence while you sleep download. Completely free. I give this to all my personal clients, and it does, miraculously in inverted commas, improve the quality of menopausal and stress disrupted sleep. And we all know if you could just sleep a little bit better, you can feel a lot better. So stick to the end. You will get a copy to that. I promise you that. But hey ho, why listen to me? What do I know? Well, just a bit of background. I'm the founder of the Mental Wealth Factory. I'm an author, a podcaster, and a motivational speaker. And I've helped thousands of people over the years, including myself, transfix with fear, inadequacy, self-doubt, to achieve the kind of personal goals, as I alluded to at the beginning, that they hadn't dared dream were possible. And I'm going to share some of those stories through this morning's presentation. So I thought, here we go, I thought I was coping well. And why wouldn't I? Here I am on the cover of magazines. I've written this book. It's been published. I'm writing online programs. I'm running tele-summits, bigger life expansion, SOS. God, I need an SOS now for this presentation, don't I? I'm back in the room. So this is joyous, isn't it? So back in the room, as I said, I'm just hesitating for a second. So, yes, there's a big but here, isn't there? A big but. Oh, hang on. Bear with me just 1 second here. I'm just pausing to access. Bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to pause this. I need to get these slides back on. So thank you for your patience, but I'm going to get this sorted. Hang on just a second there. So while I'm waiting for the slides to come back in, I've got someone frantically working in the background. Let me just join in the chat. So how many of you, you all in UK? I'm so delighted. Thank you, Caroline, for kicking off this conversation. Oh, here we go. We're back in. Let me just move forward to the right slide. Ooh. We'll get there. We'll get there. Not there. Not there. We missed out lots of pretty pictures, it would appear. Oh, look, you see? Where are we? Da, 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 da. Don't you love technology? Okay. So why listen to me? We've got this. Right, here we are, everybody. Thank you so much. You can come off the chat now. We're back. We're back. Right. So backstory, everything was going really well. I thought it was going really well, a bit like this presentation, actually. It was all going terribly well, but then it wasn't. What happened next was, after achieving the very first 5-figure month in my business, so it was all, as you can see, like I was pretty impressed with that. And I just completed my 5-star Amazon reviewed book, still going beautifully, how lovely reviews, really pleased and excited, went to celebrate, had a glass of wine with my partner, but then it began to fall apart. So quick backstory. And as I tell this backstory, I want you to know that this is with hindsight that I can appreciate this backstory. So, as I said, I've gone from sitting in a pub garden, celebrating a 5-figure month, just published a book, all lovely, celebrating 53 on top of the world, and then it all started to go wrong. Now, what was happening at this time was my mother was sick, elderly, she was at risk of going into care, she was going into hospital, in and out. My bank, love them, had withheld $9,000 of client funds. And at that time, that was my only client income because I'd been writing this book. So that meant I had no income. Also, the client concerned, who I'm sure is not here today, but I know she's not, was relatively challenging. Oh, and I found a lump in my breast, which was not the first time. So there was a lot going on. And then what started to happen, you might think unsurprisingly, but remember, I didn't know about that backstory at the time. I just suddenly, it seemed like out of the blue, I started feeling anxious for no reason, crying about the slightest things, forgetting all kinds of things. You know, I would miss appointments. I would agree to meet people and forget I'd agreed to meet them. I couldn't retain information. I doubted myself daily. And I became afraid to do the things I had found so easy just months before. In fact, I even began to think, maybe this is early onset dementia. Maybe this is it. Because remember, my mum's ill and it tends to make you think, oh, goodness, it's me, especially when it's your mother. So it all went horribly wrong. My business collapsed. And I'm showing you these horrible pictures because I want you to see what this looked like for me. It's what's going on in your head gets reflected often on what's going on in the outside. I rarely smiled or laughed like I used to. You see this worry is just written on my face here. I was ashamed of what had happened, of losing my business. And so I isolated myself socially. And as I said, I looked and felt old. I tried network marketing and failed. Now, why did I try that? Because I thought that was the problem. I thought I needed to make some more money. I thought I needed to do anything at all that would regain my sense of self-belief, but it didn't work. I'd gone, as I said, from someone who could take on the world to someone who believed she was barely competent at a minimum wage job serving olives and cooked meats at a deli counter. And that is not just some random example. That is what I ended up doing. So I've gone from 5-figure months to minimum wage and not even feeling like I was good enough for this. I felt inadequate no matter what I did. It didn't help one iota that I took the pressure, because it's easy to go, oh, maybe there was too much pressure. Maybe that was it. That wasn't it. But it didn't occur to me, maybe it hasn't occurred to many of you, that any of this, not any of it, was connected to menopause. I thought it was me. There was something wrong with me. So, fast forward 5 years, as it says, not exactly a light bulb moment, but remember, I had no idea. Nobody told me to expect this, but of course, because I was hiding out, I wasn't really asking anybody either. So through trial and error, much angst, drama, I eventually figured out, you'd think, light bulb, how to apply what I'd actually been teaching others for so long as a clinical hypnotherapist about building positive neural pathways. Now you might think, how the hell did it take you so long? Well, I was trying to apply these things to myself for a long time, but it's a little bit like, stupidly, I didn't think this, a little bit like a surgeon trying to operate on their own body. It's not really terribly workable. You need somebody else to help. Duh. Yes, another lovely picture. Honestly, what am I like? But the thing was, I realized that it was possible to change the rules of menopause and to live life on my terms. Eventually, it wasn't overnight, as you can see, but eventually I realized it was possible. And I realized I'd actually been helping so many others do this for such a long time without even realizing that menopause was the common thread. But from my personal experience, I managed to overcome anxiety. I mean, I was having palpitations going to these jobs that I didn't earn very much at. I was having palpitations. So I overcame the anxiety. I rediscovered the real me. And when the real you is there, like there's a sense, and I've had this again with so many clients I've worked with, like you can't put your finger on what's wrong sometimes, but when you rediscover yourself, you go, oh, thank goodness, there I am. Where the hell were you? And I rediscovered the real me. I stopped worrying about purpose, because that becomes a big thing. Like, oh, what's my purpose in life? Maybe I need to figure this out. And I was signing up for courses to figure out what my purpose was, thinking that would be the answer. And it wasn't. That didn't work either. And I started taking positive action instead of being paralyzed by all of that indecision and anxiety. So here's what happened. As a result of managing to overcome all of that anxiety, in late 2018, literally in months, so remember my business crashed in months, and then literally all of this returned in fact, possibly weeks. I established a mental wealth factory and launched a professional speaking business at 2 national conferences on mental health in schools, as well as providing keynote speaking for young enterprise. Now, I have no background in education, and yet I was being invited to speak at these national conferences to teachers, secondary school teachers. And I thought, well, because my confidence was back, I started stepping up even bigger. I started pitching for book deals. Rather than doing a little bit of self-publishing on the side, I'll just try this. I thought, no, I can do more than this. So I pitched with Routledge, again, leadership in mental health in secondary schools. Wouldn't you think you probably needed quite some extensive experience as a head teacher or some prominent figure in secondary education? No, I pitched it, I'm writing it, it's going to be published next year, and it's with no small publisher, but Routledge. And I'm only sharing this with you to show the difference in what happened when I was able to overcome all of that self-doubt and anxiety. So then I started doing some talks again, And here I am sharing my story with a group of successful businesswomen. And after just a short talk, where I was sharing a little bit of my journey, not quite as much as I'm going to share here, hands shot up to join my midlife reinvention beta program, which is what I thought. So I still actually hadn't fully connected that this was about menopause. I still thought, oh, this is just a midlife thing. And I, at this time, I hadn't even planned exactly what was in that. It was just a kind of an idea. And I thought, oh, hang on, I'm onto something here. Because what that showed me was I absolutely was not alone with this. And this problem was way bigger than I realized. To the extent that, and this is where it's really important, this is what suddenly really emphasized how important this was for me to get this message out to women, to give you, all of you, optimism, hope, confidence that this can change, because this is Dr. Ann Carson, as it clearly says. And this is the kind of thing that should not be happening. Here's a woman, hugely capable, hugely competent, operating at a very high level in a valuable profession where the last thing they need is people leaving. And she feels she can't cope. And she's not the kind of person that couldn't cope. You know, she's quite clearly saying, as I felt, I've never not been able to deal with the demands of my life, but menopause hit me like a roller coaster. I think she might mean steamroller, but hey ho, I'm not to argue with her metaphors. The point is, Dr. Ann Carson is considering giving up this job she's worked so hard for so many years. And that's a loss to the NHS, it's a loss to her, and it's sure will be a big dip in income if she does that. But I'm not certain that just doing that will change anything, because it didn't change anything for me. When my business collapsed, it didn't get better when I started serving olives for minimum wage. So all of this stuff, so as I'm beginning to put the pieces together of the jigsaw, but it kind of seemed bonkers, because I don't know about you, but all I'd ever heard was, you know, if you mention menopause, you knew it was something to do with hormones, and oh, what's the solution for that? Oh, that's HRT, isn't it? And even though I knew that lots of clients, because they told me, have been prescribed antidepressants, I didn't put two and two together until now. So I'm going to share with you 3 secrets that revolutionized the way I thought about what was possible for me and the goals I set myself, and what's possible for you and the goals you set for yourself. Ta-da! Drum roll. It's not just about hormones. It doesn't matter what anyone tells you. What I've realized is it's not just about hormones. Few professionals or gurus will acknowledge this. Maybe they don't know, but I think they do. I think they do, because actually, as I've learned a little bit about hormones, and I have to stress, I am no expert clinically in hormones or anything to do with the physical side of menopause, but I do know, because people tell me, that the changes in your hormones do reduce a fundamental chemical in your brain called serotonin, which is your happy, calm, coping chemical. And that explains a lot, doesn't it? But, so menopause can trigger, but also coincide with chronic stress overload. And this is the bit that's fundamentally overlooked. Even if you acknowledge the first part, the second part is fundamentally overlooked. So the truth is, and this is all language that's become new to me very recently, menopause and perimenopause, the bit before, also tend to coincide with a number of major events in our lives. So this is why I started off thinking this is just about midlife, because we get to midlife and everybody's life is different, but we start to experience a lot of major life events that contribute to this stress overload, like multiple pile up on the motorway. Things like parents dying or going into care, divorce, retirement, redundancy, debt, leaving jobs, leaving relationships, children needing help with mortgages, all kinds of stuff, but big stuff. So to emphasize this, I want to share with you Chrissy's story. So this isn't Chrissy, this is just a picture, because I'm in all of this, I want to reassure you, I'm protecting people's identities. I'm changing people's names. I'm not showing you their real pictures. I'm just representing them. But the stories I'm going to tell you are absolutely true. So Chrissy came to me. She was on HRT and antidepressants. She told me I'm menopausal. But she didn't come to me saying, I want you to help me with menopause. She came to me because she had become so anxious. She was afraid of failing. She has an important job. And she was really good at her job. And she was depended upon to be really good at her job, within her job, much like Dr. Anne Carson. She'd always been capable. She'd always held it all together. She'd been there for everyone. She managed the place brilliantly, but she was beginning to feel like she couldn't cope. And she'd obviously gone for the HRT. That helped her, she told me, with some of the brain fog, as she described it, but it didn't stop the racing thoughts. It didn't stop the negativity. It didn't stop the overwhelm. And she was beginning to feel like she was on the edge of a breakdown, that she wouldn't be able to cope with work, that she was taking time off and she was afraid she wouldn't be able to go back. And that was really, really scary. So I'm sorry to spend all the time on this slide because I want you to understand Chrissy's story. So that's where we started. But within not that long a time, Chrissy regained her confidence. But more than that. So this is what's really important. She didn't just overcome the anxiety and enable herself to get back into work and cope like she had been. She did more than that. She became more confident than before. She became more assertive than before. She started to build in tools of resilience that would protect her and create boundaries that would keep her safe, if you like, from life shocks in the future. She would be able to cope. And that is fundamentally different. And that's the difference that I made for myself and the difference that can be made. Because the important thing to understand about this is that if we put it all down to menopause, thankfully Chrissy didn't, and we go, okay, I'll just wait this out. What that does is exacerbate symptoms of anxiety, low mood, loss of focus, brain fog. And because of that, that's what makes us feel so helpless. That's why Chrissy felt helpless, like she couldn't cope. Because if you ignore something, it doesn't just go away. Try as we might, it doesn't. I'm going to come back to that in secret 3, but secret 2 I want to share with you now. There's a theme running here, you'll see this. But secret 2, literally, I discovered this through sheer desperation, because what I'm telling you here is traditional problem solving doesn't work. What the hell do I mean by that? Well, I'm being a bit mysterious here. Emotional navigation does. Now you're thinking, what the hell is emotional navigation? Let me just pop back to this slide. Here's what was going on for me. So remember, I've lost my business. I don't have any confidence anymore. I know I was a capable person. I don't know where she's gone, but she's disappeared. I'm feeling panicky, anxious. I'm crying. I'm miserable. I'm socially isolated. And I'm using every bit of my energy and my strength and my brain power to try to solve the problem, because I know it needs solving. I can't live like this. But it didn't matter what I did. I tried every tool in the box. Everything I'd ever tried before, I tried again. And I was logically trying to work through this. There's got to be a way through this. I probably did what you did. I Google for solutions. What do I do? What do I do? Nothing worked. So eventually, this is where the emotional navigation comes in. What the hell is emotional navigation? Well, I had one of those moments of sudden inspiration, which I think was connected to something else that I'd also started, which was part of my problem solving, which did work out. And that was that I'd started to meditate. And I think that was what contributed to this point of going, oh, oh, hang on a minute, why don't I try this? And the thing I went, ooh, hang on a minute, why don't I try this? Was realizing that with my clients, when they've got totally stuck, as sometimes happens, I'm sitting in a room with someone or I'm talking to them online or on the phone, whatever, it doesn't really matter. They're stuck. You say, well, what do you want? What would make this better? What are your goals? What would you like to achieve? What would make you happy? And there's just silence, like crickets, nothing. And you want, and then they're beginning to feel uncomfortable. It's like, oh no, I need to find an answer. I need to find an answer. So when that happens, I don't want people to feel more stressed. So I shift. I go, okay, whoa. Doesn't matter. Let's think back instead of forwards. Let's just look at some point in your life, and it might be when you were very small, or maybe when you were a teenager, or maybe just 10 years ago, some time in your life when you remember just doing something for the joy of it. Like there was no plan, there was no career that had to hang off the back of it, no exams, no expectations. You just did it because it was fun. And childhood is usually the easiest place to find that kind of stuff, because when we're children, we haven't yet absorbed any of that. Oh, this is really important. Oh, you need to do this. Oh, you need to have decided that by now. You need to be married by now. You need to have a relationship by now. You need to have a proper job. None of that. You just do things because you like them. And it's easy for kids because we go, I like this or I don't like this. There's no thinking about it. It's like, oh, I'm going to do this because I like it. Oh, I don't want to do that. So I remembered this is what I'd done with my clients. I thought, okay, Shelley, get a grip here. You did this with clients. And so I started to think to myself, what did you like? Now, this is really important. I probably should have more slides here. I apologize for that. I began to think, okay, what did I like doing? I like playing in the garden and getting my hands dirty. Now, you might be thinking, well, how's that going to help? And that's what the logical brain does. So traditional problem solving comes from the logical part of the brain, the part of your brain that goes, oh, what shall I wear today? And what time do I need to get up in the morning? Those easy things. That's what your logical brain does. It requires full focus and concentration, and it relies on the rest of your brain that does all that magnificent stuff with breathing and heart rate, blah, blah, blah. It relies on that to be able to think straight. But when we're anxious, that part of the brain isn't helping. So as you're trying to move out of this, as I was trying to move out of this, I'm thinking, oh, well, I used to do mud pies. How's that helping? Is the logical part of my brain trying to stop me solve the problem because it doesn't make any sense? This is what's important. This is why I'm calling this emotional navigation. Because people dismiss emotions, but this is where you want to tap back into them. Emotion, as in what makes me feel just good, happy. I don't have to worry about anything. Emotion. So I'm having this conversation in my head. How's that going to help? And I thought, I don't know. And I thought, well, I didn't have a garden because I lived in a flat. So I had to come up with something else. And I remembered kind of liking sewing when I was at infant school. And my logical brain went, yeah, but you don't like sewing on buttons now. You can't even blah, blah, blah. It was telling me I couldn't do stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but hang on, I'm going to trust this process because I've done this with clients and it doesn't make any sense to me. And no, I don't like sewing on buttons, but I did used to like this. So I discovered a little group in my local library around the corner of mostly elderly women and some of midlife who were very, very good at knitting and crocheting. But mostly what they did was they got together one afternoon a week and they knitted and crocheted and ate cake and drank tea. And I thought, I can do that. I can't knit or crochet terribly well, but it was a very friendly environment. And they, bless them, taught me how to do really simple crochet things. But there was no plan. I wasn't planning to knit anything, to crochet anything. I was just getting in touch with a part of my brain that might just get me out of this hole. So apologies for the long explanation, but it's really important that you understand this. So this is why it makes a difference. Remember this slide. just to reiterate, the more I tried to solve my problems with the logical brain, the bigger those problems became, because every time you can't solve the problem with your logical brain, it gets frustrated, it gets upset, irritated, disappointed, and those are stressful events. And so they make you feel worse. And it's a bit like going around in circles, repeatedly banging your head against the wall. So this process breaks that. That's what it's designed for. So let me tell you about Sally. Sally was working with me. She's one of my clients, and she had, again, another really high-powered job. She was very good at it. It was a very logical job, something that required concentration, structure. She was good at all that stuff, and she had a very calm, organized, logical demeanor. But she was feeling angry way more than she wanted to be feeling angry. She would get angry in meetings. She would not want to go to meetings. She would try to do everything online. COVID would have been a godsend for her. She just realized that she would get really short with people. She couldn't bear it. She was in a classic case of, well, let me do it myself. Let me do it myself. Because that was the only way it was going to get done properly, wasn't it? I'm sure many of us recognize that perfectionism. But it was making her unhappy, and she knew that this person wasn't her. So we worked together for a while, and she was making improvements. It was getting better, but she said herself there was still a little bit of doubt left. And it took quite a while before we got into a conversation. And normally I find these things out fairly quickly. But we got into a conversation. I discovered that she actually had a degree in textiles, which didn't sit with what she was actually doing as a job at all. It just didn't seem to make sense. Okay, remember that part of the brain that wants everything to make sense? Didn't make sense. So I asked her if she still enjoyed it. She said, oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I've got loads of my sewing stuff is tucked under the bed or something. So I said, well, just a thought, why don't you just maybe get it out? Which she did. Not long after that, she suddenly said, actually, I remember her walking into the room. I could tell she looked different. She was smiling. There was something completely different about her. She said, it's me, I'm back. I've found myself again. The real me is back. Now, could I prove, directly correlate by seeing inside someone's brain that was the very thing that made the difference? No. But I read up a lot on neuroscience. I believe that this frees up the part of your brain. It takes the pressure off, and it liberates parts of your brain that you've been leaving dormant to suddenly take you to a place where you have light bulb moments. So secret number 3. These are all linked. You're probably seeing this. Most of us are trying to solve the wrong problem. I was trying to solve the wrong problem. We tried to solve symptoms. So here's what I thought my problem was about making money, which is why I did the network marketing thing. It wasn't the only thing I did. Oh goodness, I tried loads of things, because of course if my business had gone belly up, clearly making money would make things better, but my problem wasn't about making money. Then I thought my problem was weight gain and binge eating, because that happens too, doesn't it? The anxiety and the stress causes us, or caused me, and we'll see a picture shortly, to binge eat. And so therefore, if I just lose the weight, I'll feel better, won't I? And I joined diets. I've never been on diets before, but I started diets. Strangely, didn't really work. Might have worked with the weight loss short term, but didn't work with making me feel better. And as I've said before, I thought another of my problems was not knowing my true purpose. So if I could just solve this, if I could figure out what the hell I'm here for, then everything will be okay. But I couldn't find that answer, so it made me feel worse. And here's the picture. I kept buying into these quick fix, lose weight fast, make money fast, find your purpose, schemes and training, because I thought that those were the problems that needed solving, but those were symptoms. And because they were just symptoms, even if I got a short-term improvement, nothing worked for long. It's a bit like trying to get rid of moles by just bashing down a molehill. They're just going to pop up somewhere else. And because of that, because you try to solve a problem and you can't, it makes you more unhappy. It made me more unhappy, frustrated, and totally lost. Oh, here's another lovely picture. This is me in my PJs. I started living in my PJs because I was safe at home. I didn't have to go out and see anybody and be judged. I wasn't worthy. I was inadequate. I couldn't be bothered to do my hair or my makeup, get dressed. I binged on carbs. And here's the irony. I told people I was content and I almost believed it, despite this picture. I went, oh, well, you know, I've got lots to be grateful for. I've got a lovely home, living in a lovely part of the world, lovely partner, great kids. But that isn't enough sometimes. It's not enough. And I'm not saying this is about, oh, you got to more, it's all material, you got to find more stuff. Quite the opposite. It's about internal stuff. It's about figuring out what you need and want and tapping back into who you really are. So you can see I was lying to myself, wasn't I? I wasn't happy. Clearly, that picture shows I wasn't happy. All of those, as I said, were symptoms, just symptoms of that deeper problem. And this weight gain, this money thing, this is top of the iceberg. All the stuff beneath was what the problem was, causing the overwhelm. And as I say, I should have known this from my work with clients. This is stuff I do with people all the time. But here's the thing with menopause and the impact of it. I was so overwhelmed, so anxious, so lost, I couldn't think straight enough to work this out for myself. Until I applied Secret Hack 2, which, remember, was that emotional navigation thing. So the real problem I needed to deal with was that chronic stress overload. And you might think, well, isn't this what the first one? Isn't this the same as the first one? Well, yes and no. But the first hack was really about recognizing that this is a problem. Because recognizing is part of a first step towards a solution. But this is different in that it says you have to deal with this first, this chronic stress overload. You've got to deal with this first to liberate yourself from all of those other symptoms and start making changes to the way you eat. You know, I eat way healthier now. Exercise, I exercise now. You know, getting a book deal, all of that stuff was possible because I finally dealt with the core problem, chronic stress overload. So here's my last story, Trish. I saw Trish a long time ago now, but I want to share her story because it's quite dramatic in the changes that she made for herself. And it illustrates perfectly the whole, we want to deal with a symptom, but actually we need to deal with the deeper problem beneath the surface. So the symptom that Trish experienced was binge eating. And if anyone's done this, I've already owned up to this, it can become hugely debilitating. It's done in secret, as here. We don't want people to know that we're doing it, but it causes a huge amount of distress. So what Trish wanted to do was to be able to stop this. But even then, so I had remember at this point, I didn't know anything about this connection with menopause. I'm just working with a person. I know that what we've got to focus on is something other than the eating. Because when you focus on the problem that's loaded with stress and drama and anxiety, you tend to elevate the stress and anxiety high. You're taking someone to a place where they can't think straight. So I knew to get your attention, you've got to kind of persuade the subconscious part of the brain to get out of shock and panic and drama into, oh, no, we're not really looking at that. We're looking at something else. It's a kind of diversionary tactic. So we worked together for a while, and her changes were dramatic. So remember, she came for binge eating, but we worked on all the other stuff contributing to chronic stress overload. Again, another woman with a high-powered job. She used to win awards. But despite winning awards, she didn't value herself. She didn't think she was very good. And yet at the same time, she knew she was undervalued by her employer. She knew she was underpaid. She knew there were other people being promoted above her despite her skills and her record. But she felt afraid, like this was all she could achieve. She didn't feel brave enough to do anything else. But here's what happened. Eventually, and she will say, I'm not sure if I share one of the things she said later, but she came to me very cynical. And that's the other reason I wanted to share her problem, because she came with a big dose of cynicism. Like, yeah, I've tried everything. How's this going to help? But here's what happened. She transformed her life completely. She left that job, not to give up, but she went to a bigger job. She went to a bigger job that was overseas. And not only did she start this bigger job overseas, not long after that, she stepped into an even bigger place. She set up her own business, a successful business, and she met the love of her life. Now, is it at all stretch for me to take any credit of that? Well, yes and no. I didn't, but she did. She knew it was pivotal. Now, what she didn't know was it was about the chronic stress overload. That's what we dealt with. And that gives you the long-term change that you want. That doesn't just solve a short-term problem, it gives you long-term resources. So, if you'd like me to help you achieve more balance, calm, ease in your life, so that you can be in control like Trish and live life on your terms, no matter what life throws at you, COVID, divorce, death, disease, no matter what, starting today, here's what I've got for you. Crisis to freedom. This seemed very apt because this is how it felt for me. I went from a place of crisis to a place of freedom. And based on my own story and those of thousands of my clients, I'm launching this tomorrow. And in it, you'll discover how to build these new neural pathways that I've alluded to that put you back in control of your life and your thoughts, so you can be happy again. And you really can be happy. And honestly, if you told me that a few years ago, I'd have wanted to believe you, but I might have struggled. But all I needed was just that tiny, tiny grain of hope. And trust me, I was suicidal at one point and desperate and didn't believe anything was going to help. But here's how this program I put together can make a difference. And I really thought about how I can best make a difference. And for a while I thought, oh no, this isn't possible. You can only do this one-to-one. But I've realized, no, I can do this in a group setting. So rather than charting an identical path for everyone to follow, because who wants an identical path? We're not all the same. We have commonalities, but we're unique. We're individuals. Who wants a formula? I could just send you a workbook. Here, do this, do that, do the other. But that isn't what's needed to make the change. This live program, so I'm delivering this live, just as I am now. I will be delivering this live. And it's designed to stimulate your subconscious mind to problem solve, just the way I stimulated mine. So you figure out what you want for you, not what I tell you you want, not what anybody else tells you you want, but what you want, so that you figure out what personal challenges you're ready to overcome. It is uniquely personal. I'm in this with you. I'm not leaving you alone. I'm totally in it with you. And I'm using a tried and tested way to reprogram your subconscious. Now, I can't even remember if I've mentioned this yet, but I'm a qualified clinical hypnotherapist. I've been doing this for over a decade. I'm fascinated by the subconscious, by psychology, by neuroscience, and I keep up to date with it. So I've used this with myself and with thousands of clients. It works. And what it does is puts an end to that vortex of spiraling negative thoughts that I know you know, because I've been there, when you can't switch off your brain. You want to focus on happy things, but it's like a piece of elastic. Your brain just keeps swinging back out to something that went wrong, that could go wrong, that might go wrong, and it's just deeply upsetting. But instead, what you're able to discover is increased calm and unbelievably a joy for living. Plus, as I said, overcome a low mood, not just for 10 minutes at a time in a little meditation or an hour of yoga, which is wonderful, but at any time. Overcoming chronic stress, not just for today. It's a bit like that program, what do they say? A dog is not for Christmas, it's for life. And I don't mean to be flippant, but who wants to just overcome chronic stress today? You want to overcome it for good. So you've got resources and tools and know-how that you can use that will help you the minute you begin to notice yourself tipping into a place of, oh, hang on a minute, oh, I think I might be losing it a bit. You know how to get yourself back from the brink again. That is powerful. And I can testify to that too, because some of you may or may not know, my mother died last Monday. And yet I delivered a webinar on Wednesday. I'm delivering another one today. I may sound like it's not affecting me in the slightest. Of course it is. My heart rate is a lot higher than normal, and I'm understandably prone to grief and tears as well from time to time. But I'm keeping a watchful eye on it. I'm making sure I take care of myself and I manage this chronic stress overload so that I do not fall into the abyss again. It gets you out of stuckness. It helps you discover what you really want, even if you don't know what that is now. You don't need to know now. You will find out on the journey. It's going to be, and I'm thrilled by an amazing 6-week live program. And you'll experience firsthand in the very first training exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to regaining control of your life and thoughts, so you can be happy again, so the people around you can appreciate you being happy again, the people you work with, the people you live with. And better than that, you start making these simple changes from day one. And here's what my clients nearly all tell me. I know it feels effortless, like it's not something you have to work. I said you have to commit. We get into partnership, you have to do stuff, but it feels so effortless and it's so pleasurable. I have clients that actually continue to work with me, not because they still need to, but because they still want to. It's like their personal recharge, just occasionally checking back in. So what this is going to do is build on simple changes. And I mean simple, the tiniest things that you might think, how's that going to help? That seems really insignificant. Like my crocheting or my knitting or the textiles, whatever it is, it might seem like, how's that going to make a difference? But it's stimulating. And I'm going to avoid being geeky here, because I can get very geeky about neural networks and neuroscience. But to stimulate positive neural networks instead of what's stimulated right now, which is negative ones. And that gives you a whole new window on the world. And soon you'll be feeling better than you thought possible. And you kind of have to take that on trust, but that's what my clients experience. Better than you ever thought possible. So your next step, if you're going through any kind of self-doubt and you're still here, if you're here, you've already basically said, yep, that's me. Self-doubt, confusion, anger, fear, anxiety, other stuff. If you'd like to come out of this feeling stronger, clearer, a completely different but better version of yourself, happier, I'd like to join this program. It starts tomorrow. And as I said, this is my final little plug about me. As founder of the Mental Wealth Factory not that long ago, and a clinical hypnotherapist, I do research and integrate all of the latest proven tools, techniques, therapies, neuroscience with decades of experience into what I've created, a powerful neural approach that overcomes that spiral of negative thinking, that vortex of anxiety that completely diminishes you and limits your joy for life. I'm always here to help. And I think some of you will already know that. You'll know some of you have reached out, have emailed me. I have always emailed back and tried to be responsive. I'm always here to help. And I can't tell you, I've shared some stories, but I can't tell you all the amazing results I've helped women like you achieve. Women who were going through menopause and were also struggling with overwhelm, crippling anxiety, loss of identity, confusion, insomnia, self-doubt, and so much more. I do also have a handful of one-to-one packages available from £2,995, which sounds a lot. But today I'm only talking about this Crisis to Freedom program, which is dedicated to helping women struggling specifically with menopausal anxiety. I'm just going to grab a quick drink. So before I tell you what's in, who cares what's in the program, really? I mean, I know we do, but really what we want to know is, what do I get out of it? And this is what you get. When you complete the 6 weeks, what you can expect is to be able to apply at least one simple, it's all simple, daily strategy to reduce anxiety, irritability, and panic. You will unbelievably put your own needs at the top of your to-do list. And I've said at least once per week, maybe more, probably more, without feeling guilty about it, because that's the stinger in the tail. You will discover a measurable and easy to learn method to improve your daily experience, whatever else is going on. You probably know why now, renew at least one creative and or fitness interest with energy and enthusiasm. So this is not about, oh God, yeah, I've got to go running, or I've got to join the gym, I've got to start a car. No, you will discover something that you really want to do, and you will rediscover the energy to do it. That's what you can expect. And you will, here's the total bonus. It always happens. It's not necessarily part of the plan, but you will also notice positive change in at least one relationship, whether at work or at home. It always happens. So what's behind the covers? What's under the skin of this? As I said, it's a 6 weeks, can't say the word now, a 6-week journey. 6 weeks of Facebook Live video training. That's me showing up live, working with you and building on all of that experience and knowledge and investment in neural networks to help you to engage and make the changes you want. But this is collaborative. This isn't just a case of me showing up, telling you some stuff. As I've said earlier, this is personal. This is adaptive to you. It's not just, I'll tell you what to do, you go and do it, and I'll go off and swan off and do something else until next week. This is engaged. This is reactive and responsive to you and your needs. There's also live Q&A coaching. Now, this is also different. So Q&A sounds like you ask me a question and I'll answer it, which I'll be doing here today. But it's more than that. I'll be asking you questions that you'll be answering with very good reason. And this is what makes this so powerful and so different and so personal to you. Because what I do with that Q&A coaching, so I'm answering questions on the fly, but what I'm also doing, as I said, I'm asking you questions. I'm using what you give me, the language you use, the situations, the circumstances you're dealing with, the stuff that's going on in your life, to customize live hypnotherapy sessions. Now, when I say it's personalized, I want to just give you confidence. Like, this is a group, but there's total confidentiality, and you don't have to share anything that's deeply personal that you don't want to. Nothing. There's no diving into your past, your childhood. You don't have to share personal stories. That's not necessary. But if you share things like, oh, I like to go for a run, or I like to get up at dawn and listen to the birds sing, that kind of stuff I use within this hypnotherapy. Now, why does that make a difference? Because you could buy hypnosis sessions recordings online anytime, $15 or something. But they don't work the way, it might say, give you more confidence, help you sleep. And they're good. I'm not saying don't get them. They're great. But there's a filter in your subconscious brain, and it filters out anything and everything that doesn't totally resonate with you, that doesn't totally make you. So if I say, oh, I want you to imagine you're in a garden, you might think, well, I'm not in a garden. No, I'd rather be in a meadow. I'd rather be somewhere else. That interferes with the changes you want to make. If I say, there are blue flowers, and you go, no, they aren't, they're pink, it filters out and it dilutes the impact. It's a bit like going to a bar and ordering a drink and 99% of it is water. It's not really doing the job, but this does. As you've already gathered, it's a private Facebook community, and I'm delighted to say I haven't used it yet, but Facebook have created a learning space. So we can create rooms, we can organize the content so that you can access it as and how you want it. But we're doing more than that. We will, although this is all live, we will also upload things once they've been recorded and put them into a private members area where you can access them at your leisure. So if for any reason you can't show up for a live training, you can access it later. But you do need to show up as much as you possibly can. This is a gift you give to yourself. This is your kind of personal spa. Like, this is time you ring fence and you give to yourself. This is part of putting yourself first. So what do we get? Live solution focus. As I said, it's focused on solutions, not problems, solutions. It's not about the past, not what happened years ago. It's about what's happening now. And it's based on the latest learning in neuroscience and all of this experience with thousands of successful clients and students. It's a partnership. It's not about me telling you what to do and just chucking stuff at you that you have to then go away and, digest. We collaborate actively on the outcomes you want. And most of the work you need to do is in the live sessions. The rest of the time, you can just get on with life. I want to reiterate this: personal support from me. So you won't be engaging with someone that I've just employed to manage my social media. I will be in that room, not just delivering the live stuff, but also from Tuesday to Friday, because I have boundaries that are ring-fenced, that I'm urging you to do too. I will be in that group and responding to messages, to comments, guiding you whenever and wherever you need me. And I hope I've made the point that this flexes and flows according to who shows up. It's designed to respond to you as an individual, who you are, not put you into a block as a type or a category. So the total value of this 6-week journey is $4,800, which sounds a lot, but actually is really great value, because if all that gave you was a way to ditch negative thoughts, like keep you anxious, overwhelmed, lost, sad, overcome chronic stress overload, if you could just think clearly and calmly, and that meant you could stay in the job you're in, like Dr. Anne Carson, not give up her job, that you could be like Trish and discover the confidence, not just the confidence, but the ability and belief to build a business of your own, that you could rescue a marriage or a relationship, you could feel calmer. Would that be worth £4,800? Dollars? Sorry, not even pounds. Dollars, even better than that. So a few stories. Kathy. Kathy really wasn't coping. Obviously, she's coping so much better now. she didn't believe that change was possible. She was struggling with work, with overwhelm, overload. She was just wanted to be able to get up in the morning and feel like she could get on with the day. And fortunately, she came and worked with us, and that's exactly, these are her words, by the way. Everything I'm going to show you here is in the words of the people I'm talking about. This is Tash. Tash was full of cynicism. She noticed, remember I said small changes? Small changes. Small hinges swing big doors. Ripple effects. Judy, I mentioned sleep. Sleep changes, and when you change sleep, you change everything. Judy was struggling. She'd been promoted, and although her bosses clearly had faith in her, she didn't believe in herself. She was afraid to be a manager, to step into the role. She was afraid to go to work in the morning because of what she had to do. So feeling euphoric going into work was such a big deal. Ivy was commuting to and from work, and this was a hell of a commute. This was between Belfast and the UK, of the rest of the UK, I should say, England, Scotland, Wales. So often that would mean she would leave on a Saturday, or rather return on a Saturday and then leave on a Sunday. So she had hardly any time at home with her family. She told me how she'd gained weight. She'd given up all of her sporting interests. She told herself she had to do this, though. She told herself this was how she had to live. But after working together, she changed everything. She discovered she could work from home again. She set up her own business. She lost weight. She started getting back into sport. She started seeing her family again. I want this to be accessible to more people, because my goal is to make a living by making a major difference in people's lives. And so it's not $4,800, it's $597. You can get started now, today. And I think there's a link somewhere you can click to enroll. But some of you might still think, I don't deserve this. So I want to tell you, this is what I told myself. You tell yourself you shouldn't complain because you have so much to be grateful for. As if it's somehow unreasonable to want to feel better than you do right now. This is me and my friend Jane. And I used to say, I'm so lucky. I've got lovely friends, lovely home, lovely part of the world. I shouldn't be complaining about feeling so damn terrible. But that's as logical as ignoring the small lump in your breast because somebody else has stage 3 cancer. We've covered this, but it's so easy to put yourself way down the list of priorities. Other people's needs come first. This is my lovely partner, my lovely mum. It's so easy to go, no. I put the children's education first, or I need to help with rental mortgages. I need to support my parents. I need to buy a car, things for the home. If you bought a car for $597, fantastic. But the point is, none of that matters. And if you ask those people that love you, what would you rather have, a state-of-the-art television or me, smiling, happy, capable, coping again? I know what they'd choose, and so do you. People who love you want you to be happy and well, and nobody benefits from doing nothing and waiting this out. But I thought to myself, okay, so there's this amazing program, there's all this stuff, all the neuroscience, this is personal to me, it's personal to you. I'm in there all the time. I'm giving you everything that my one-to-one clients get, but you're on your own. So because this is online, what do you do in between? What else would you need to be successful? And I thought, okay, well, sometimes, even if you're feeling on top of the world, there will be days, especially in the early days, where you still feel kind of lost, like, I don't know what I'm doing, or is this really going to work? And you need that extra impetus, that extra bit to get you going. But you don't want to work harder. You don't want to have to take extra time to do this because that adds overwhelm. So I've put together 10 of the most popular episodes from my Revelation podcast that relate to menopause and midlife. And You could listen to them while you're out running if you run. You can listen to them while you're doing housework. You can listen to them while your partner's watching football or whatever. It will support you in between those live sessions. But there's more, because even when we achieve the change, as I've done, I've overcome the anxiety, I feel more confident, I'm myself again, I'm doing what I want, living life on my terms, but we all need somebody else to give us that shot in the arm. Someone's like, yes, I can do this, because self-doubt does come back in if you up your game. And frankly, Tony Robbins doesn't do it for me. He's a bit too masculine. So this Diamond Dozen Power List is 12 powerful women, mostly in midlife or even older. And they inspire me every time I listen to them. So I wanted you to have this for those moments where you're wobbling just a little, that you just want to pick this up and watch and listen. But also there's this. Now you might think, oh no, you said there wouldn't be a checklist and a formula and blah, blah, blah. That's not what this is. This ebook is not 52 things that you must do to overcome menopause and all of those symptoms. No, it's for those moments when, I ask you a question and you get the crickets thing, like silence. I don't know. This is to stimulate ideas, to make you think, oh, I could do that. But they're really simple, practical ideas, and they relate to stuckness, to do with wellness, or to do with money, or to do with life. You don't have to do them all, but some of them can just help. You can just pick and choose what works for you. So now, if this is for you, and I sincerely hope it is, it will make a dramatic difference in your life. You need to click on the link to enroll. And while you're doing that, I want to reward some of you, because and I know, and we've heard this all before, and we've seen it all before, the people that take action quickly always get better results than people that sit on the fence for a while. Oh, shouldn't I? No, I don't. And so for those of you who are in that camp, I want to help you, give you an even bigger lift, an extra power of propulsion forwards. And I'm offering the first 10 people to jump in a free one-to-one coaching call with me. I just want to remind you that link, I'm not sure what you can see on your screen, but the enroll now, if there's a click that says offers, it's there, it's right in front of you. Just click on the enroll. So you can take that call before you begin the program, although that could be difficult because it's tomorrow. But you could take it at the beginning, you could take it in the middle, or you could take it at the end. It doesn't matter, but you will get that free one-to-one coaching call with me if you're one of the first 10 people to jump in. But for those of you who are still thinking, oh, I'm not sure, because, scary stuff, I don't know, will it work? Blah. Because I know those thoughts. I'll give you your money back. If you sign up, you do it, and honestly, it won't happen. But if it doesn't work, I'll give you your money back. Let's recap what you get. The 6 weeks of live video training with me showing up, the live Q&A coaching, the live, even though it doesn't say so, customized personal hypnotherapy, the private exclusive Facebook community in the learning space, the members area where you can access all the downloads, the bonuses that keep you going in between and beyond. The total value of this entire program is $5,538. It's the price of a small car you might buy second hand. And that's great, but it doesn't transform your life the way this can. And the price today is not $5,538, it's $597, which in pounds is something 400 and something. But there's something else too. If you sign up today, this program, the Midlife Reinvention program that I mentioned earlier, when I was talking to another group of women and I launched this program. This program, you can still buy this. If you go online, you'll find this program for $497. But today, if you sign up and enroll in Crisis to Freedom, you can have this program too for $10. So what's not to like? So once again, you get the free coaching call. Some people have already signed up, so there's not 10 spaces now, but if you're quick, you can get in there. Right now is Q&A. And while I'm just going to jump it in. Okay, so Sean, not available, but very interested. Will there be future courses? There probably will be, Sean, but I don't know when. They certainly won't be this side of Christmas. If you're not available for the next 2 weeks, don't forget you can still get access to the recordings. And although I start tomorrow, tomorrow is a kind of signposting through the course. So the live stuff doesn't happen until Monday. And you could submit, I'm just going to put my video back on. You can submit any questions that will be incorporated. So you can still take part even if you're not there, because I will include that in the training. Right. Any other questions? Right, while there's a bit of a delay on this, I'm going to answer some questions that have been sent through to me, and then I'll come back to you and check out what you're asking me live. So some people said, oh, I've coped so far. Can't get any worse, can it? Well, yes, it can. So if you remember from the slide, what happens is if we don't deal with the problem gets worse, because our brains fixate on it. Our brains are designed to problem solve. So they keep trying to problem solve, and you'll get stuck where I got stuck, which is the more you try to solve it and you can't solve it on your own because you can't solve it on your own, the worse it gets, because what you're doing is elevating the background stress, that chronic stress overload, and making it even worse. So yes, it can get worse, I'm afraid, if you don't do something about it. Yeah, quite a few people asked me about whether this would help with physical symptoms like hot flushes. Right. As I said, total honesty, I'm no expert on the physical side of things. I have no qualifications in that. This physical stuff is all new to me. However, it does impact on the serotonin level. Whether that's connected with hot flushes, I don't know. All I can share with you that with confidence is about my personal experience, that I did notice that when I got just a tiny little elevation in stress, like something I was having to do or something I was thinking about that maybe made me feel a little bit more stressed, then it would ramp up the temperature. And so maybe what that's telling me is there is a connection with the stress and the hot flushes, and therefore, if you deal with the stress, then the hot flushes will not be as intense. I've certainly noticed a massive reduction, whether that's age and that would have happened anyway, or whether that's because I've dealt with stress. I can't confidently say. I hope that answers the question. Right, so we touched on HRT earlier. I get this. The only way you can affect chemicals in the brain. Well, that sounds reasonable, but no, that's not true. There's a loop within our brain, and thoughts influence the chemicals we produce. So we actually thoughts become real things. They create changes in the way we feel. And it's the way we feel that creates stress and releases chemicals within our body. So if I just get a tiny bit stressed, I will get an elevation in heart rate. I will get, sorry, I realize I'm not looking at the camera, I apologize. I will get increase in sweat production, even if I don't notice it. So the fact that thoughts make chemical changes in our bodies say that this is not just about medication and HRT. Change the way you think and you change the way you feel. Right, I'm going to just jump back in and see if you've got any live questions. Is it possible to join the live meetings and for the work with a full-time job? Well, I guess it depends on your job and how easy it is to shift your timing in the day, because if you could maybe shift a lunch hour or start a bit early, what I've done is I scheduled them, and they will be no longer than an hour. I know today has been, but normally they'll be no longer than an hour. So I'm starting them at 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock, which means if you could juggle your day a bit, get a bit of flexibility with your employer, you absolutely can do this with a full-time job. Question. Oh God, so many questions. Right, what time's the live work happening? Yes, so as I said, it's 10 in the mornings and 4 in the afternoons, because I've tried to balance it that some people might be able to get to all the morning ones, some people might get to all the afternoon ones. I appreciate you might not get to all of them, but as long as you get to half of them at least once a week, then that'll be good. I don't understand the $10 thing. Oh, Sue, sorry. So what the $10 thing means is when you buy Crisis to Freedom, so what we're talking about today is Crisis to Freedom, which is $597. But if you would also like access to the complete midlife reinvention program, which is a different program, but which does dovetail and support this program. It's all pre-recorded, that one. That one wasn't live, that was pre-recorded. There is a heap of content in there which supports this. If you would like that as well as Crisis to Freedom, you can have that for $10. If you want to buy it on its own, it's $497. But if you buy it as well as Crisis to Freedom, it's $10. I hope that makes sense. Keywords to do with remembering things from the past. M. I'm not sure I understand the question, M. Maybe either if you could rephrase that or send me a private message at the end. I will, we could jump on an email or a call and I'll try to explain. I'm not sure I understand the question. Sean, is that Tuesday to Friday? Yes. So the live calls are on Tuesdays and Fridays, but I am available to the group Tuesday to Friday. In other words, you can jump in there anytime you like and be with other people in the group. But if you want access to me with questions, answers, comments, then that's Tuesday to Friday. So I hope that makes it clear. I'm sure you'll let me know if it doesn't. Okay, so just as I say, anyone who wants, there's just one question I have for you actually. If there's anyone here who would really, really, really like to jump into the program, but is wondering how, thinking, oh, $597, I've got to find that now. If it would help to be able to split that into maybe 2 chunks, then let me know, get in touch. And also, if you are someone that would like to jump on a call with me, like you really want to do this, but maybe you need that extra reassurance of a one-to-one conversation, some questions you can ask me in person, then you can do that. Simply email me, Shirley at the Mental Wealth Factory, or reply to one of the comments, the emails that you get, as many of you have done, or just comment here in the chat and we can have that call. As I say, I would do my best to get back to you today. I've got client meetings this afternoon and this evening, but I will try my best to get through to everybody, at least by the end of the week. Okay. Let's have another look. Splitting the payment would be helpful. Okay, yes. If you can send me a private message, if you go into the bottom of the chat, if you send to admin only, send your email address or your telephone number, and you want to talk things through, then we will pick that up and we'll follow up on it. Okay. Okay. Sean, sign up on the next program. That's great. I would urge you to sign up on this one if you can, because 3 months to the end of the year, if it is New Year, it can feel like such a long time if you're struggling. I will do everything to support you. And remember, you'll get that one-to-one call with me. So that will also support you in those 2 weeks if you don't feel able to get to the lives. Okay. Right. I just have a couple of final slides here. Which I would just to get these questions. Wouldn't it make more sense to get counselling with CBT? Well, a lot of my clients have done both. It's not an either or. CBT actually works really, really well with the kind of work that I do. So don't feel you have to choose one or the other. if you're already in something else, then this actually kind of amplifies the speed and the intensity of the change that you will get. This is all good stuff for increasing your sense of calm. Don't stop any of it. It's fantastic. But this is different because this gives you lasting change. It builds your resilience. It really makes a long-term difference. And again, I did cover this earlier about the hypnotherapy downloads, guided meditations. Yeah, again, don't stop doing them. If you enjoy them, do them. But they're diluted because they're not personal to you. You want something that's personal to you to amplify the impact and the speed of change for you on your terms. Because that's the whole point. This is living life on your terms, right? Not my terms, not somebody else's terms, your terms. So if crisis to freedom sounds like the right step to get you back in control of your life and thoughts and finally be happy again, then the only thing left for you to do is click that enroll button now. As I've said, if you want the added confidence of a call with me, you want to talk about the pricing, the payment rather, and you just think, oh, I need that extra, I just want to ask some extra questions, then please, as I say, privately send us a message. We will get in touch with you. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you staying on the call for so long. I know it's been long, but I hope it's been valuable. I'm going to close out. I'm just going to stick on the chat for a little while, but I'm going to close out the screen. And for those of you that need to go, thank you for taking part. Hang around here if you want to chat on the chat thingy. I will try to answer any questions. The private questions I will pick up when we close. Okay, how to enroll and split the payment. We'll need to sort that for you personally, Sharon. So if you privately send me your contact details, we'll get in touch with you and then we'll sort out how to make that happen. Sorry, we didn't do the button properly. What about the free giveaway? The free giveaway. Good question, Sean. The free giveaway is, I think, I'm just checking. If you click on, I'm hoping you've seen the same thing as me, on files. Can you all see files? I don't know if you have the same menu as me. There's on the buttons, click on files. There's a download button there, which will give you that download. Hopefully you've got that. Okay, so I'm seeing some people private messaging me, which is lovely, but I'm not seeing any contact details to get in touch with you. So if you could add those into the private message as well. Ideally phone numbers, because then we can get to you more quickly. As I say, I've got client meetings this afternoon, and so I would do that. Right. All right. Anyone else having? Is everyone getting the files they need? And is the enroll button working now, apart from the splitting the payment? Great, Sean. Email. You can, Sean, if you like, you can send me details in the message box privately, if that's easier. Totally understand. So someone messaged me privately, so I won't say who it is, but physical symptoms, chronic pain. As I said, I'm no expert on the physical side of things. However, I do know the impact of stress on the body. And so if you deal with the stress, it will ideally alleviate those symptoms just because you're relieving inflammation. Stress causes inflammation in the body. That will help. But also, if you're improving how you feel generally in yourself, it can be easier to cope with any of those physical symptoms. It's hard to cope when you're dealing with all the mental stuff too. Right, I've just been told, if you can't download or you haven't been able to access the download to the sleep meditation I promised at the beginning, we will email you that. So don't worry if you've missed it, you will get sent an email connection. Right, okay. Totally understand about not wanting to make hasty decisions. Someone mentioned that. But remember, you you have the opportunity of that one-to-one call with me if you jump in quick enough. And also, remember, there's the 60-day money-back guarantee. So you jump into the group. If the group, like after the first week, in all honesty, if after the first week you go, you know, I'm not sure this is for me, you can jump out. I'm not going to hold you to it. But ideally, you want to stick with it. You want to stick with it and see it out to the end, because that's where the magic happens. Lovely. Thanks, Sean. Lovely to speak to you, if only on chat. And very much hope to welcome you soon. Take care. All right, so hopefully everyone's added their details. Hopefully I've answered the questions, and thank you again for showing up. Get in touch if there's anything. If you suddenly think, oh, I've got a question I want to ask, it's not too late to jump in. All right, over and out. Catch you again soon, but I really hope to welcome you to the class that starts tomorrow. Bye for now.